Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And that last update was kind of lackluster as far as the class balance tuning was going, but this one is pretty big and has a lot of massive sweeping changes that are definitely going to intrigue your interest in possibly checking out some new specializations, which now is the best time to re-roll alts and start having some fun. So let's get started. There's a lot. If you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with changes like this, smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated on my long-term goal of getting to that 100,000 subscriber YouTube plaque. So thank you guys very much for your continued support. Guardian Druid, your absorb granted by Ursoc's Fury is going to be reduced to 45% of the damage dealt from 50%, and innate resolve bonus to frenzied regeneration has been reduced to 120%, down from 150%. Previously, Guardian got a slap on the wrist. To me, this still somewhat appears as a slap on the wrist for Guardian Druid. PvP, not going to be a big deal. Havoc, I-Beam is no longer interrupted by school lockout effects. So to my understanding, it has been explained to me, this means if you get kicked on I-Beam, you won't be kicked on other things. You can interrupt I-Beam still, but you'll be able to use the other abilities. I don't know what those are exactly. I've struggled to see what else you would be able to use, but you can definitely interrupt it, but you can do other things still. For Vengeance, Fell Devastation is the same thing, no longer interrupted by school lockout effects. For Mage, they fixed an issue that caused mass invisibility to cancel inconsistently with no direct actions taken, and they're addressing their AoE. They're nerfing their AoE. This is a big Mythic Plus change, but I think this will also apply in PvP, as it doesn't say that it doesn't, and I don't think we've talked about anything as far as these are concerned. So flame strike damage is going to be reduced by 6%, flame patch by 8%, incendiary flames can now only proc once every 10 seconds up from 8, and conflagration damage has been reduced by 10%. So this is for heavy AoE scenarios for Fire Mage and Mythic Plus, which I think is obvious given the current Mythic Plus tournament, but these will likely affect in PvP unless stated otherwise. For Mistweaver, Ancient Teachings now transfers 150% of the damage done up from 135, will not apply in PvP, so Mistweaver definitely needed some help in terms of viability for Mythic Plus, so they're trying to work on their fist weaving build, I would think, but it's not going to matter in PvP. Yulon's Grace can now stack up to 15% maximum health, up from 10%, and stacks 3% per second was 2%, so Yulon's Grace is going to stack a little faster. Chi Cocoon's Absorb is increased by 100%. Now, I don't know if Chi Cocoon is a huge thing for you, especially in PvP, but when I see a number like 100%, it definitely stands out. Might be worth checking out. Enveloping Breath's healing decreased by 12%. We're shifting more of Celestial Harmony's throughput into Chi Cocoon with the intent of keeping the talent's power level similar in raid and increased in dungeon content. So these changes, other than this one addressing PvP, probably not going to have big impacts on Mistweaver or PvP. For Holy Paladin, they're reducing your damage by 10%, and that's going to be in PvP as well. Blessing of the Summer now causes attacks to deal 20% additional damage, as Holy was previously 25%, but Blessing of Summer will still be 30% in PvP combats, but 10% overall less damage for Holy Paladins. Assassination Rogue getting a little bit of love, 5% overall increase in damage, and 5% attack power damage, so a little 5% buff for you. I don't know if this is really going to help your viability if your AoE mechanically just doesn't compete Mythic Plus, but in PvP, 5% is still a nice number to get some help. For Prot Warrior, defensive stance reduction to damage dealt has been reduced to 5%, down from 10, so they're starting to alleviate some of the nerfs that Prot Warrior got previously when it was basically the only tank played in Mythic Plus. So some of those nerfs are being alleviated. Spell Reflection's damage reduction increased to 25%, up from 20, and Vanguard's increase to stamina increased to 35% was 30. And honestly, tank specs are kind of popping up in PvP a little bit, so it might be worth paying attention to this. Now, this change for Death Knight, I absolutely do not like. This first change for Death Knight, I absolutely do not like. I thought this was a really cool effect for Death Knight that actually made you somewhat desirable to casters as opposed to only melee cleaves, and that is that Necrotic Aura is only going to increase magic damage by 4%, down from 8%. So this is a huge synergy nerf. Obviously, this is going to affect your own personal burst as well. Nerfing that by half. It's basically like an 8% reduction, especially for Unholy, with Death Cool being a significant portion of your damage. So I'm not really a big fan of that. That's a big nerf for Unholy. And it's also going to affect Frost. But Frost, you're getting some compensation. Dead of Winter now increases the cooldown of Remorseless Winter by 10 seconds, down from 25, so you can be able to use Remorseless Winter more often. That likely, I would assume, means that you can access the stun from it. Frost Fever damage increased by 30% in PvP combat, buffing the dot. Frost Strike damage increased by 75%, up from 67%, so almost a 10% buff to Frost Strike. And Remorseless Winter now deals 100% increased damage in PvP, up from 80. So this isn't, again, an attempt to increase Frost's overall sustain damage. This nerf over here is going to counteract some of this. but I think this nerf's more going to affect on Holy. For Havoc Demon Hunter, you're going to see a huge damage buff. Chaos Strike Annihilation damage increased by 10% in PvP. I-Beam damage is no longer increased in PvP combat, was previously 16%, so compensating I-Beam is doing less, so less, necessity on your I-Beam not being interrupted to be able to get your damage off, but more just baseline damage. Isolated Prey talent no longer has a reduced duration bonus for Chaos Nova and PvP, was reduced by 50%, so you're going to get a full duration stun, even with all of the single target benefits. Soul Rend talent damage is now reduced by 8% in PvP, was previously 17%, so Soul Run's going to be doing, twice the amount of damage. Essence Break is now reduced by 10%, was 20, so again, it's going to be doing twice the amount of damage. And then Essence Break, bonus damage for Chaos Strike and Blade Dance, sorry, not twice the amount of damage, but half the reduction is gone, so a 10% increase. And now Chaos Strike and Blade Dance is now reduced by 19% in PvP, was previously 38%. So that's almost a 20% buff to Chaos Strike and Blade Dance right here, and Chaos Strike and Annihilate up here. So pretty big sustained damage buffs here for Demon Hunter. Again, their main weakness was still just kind of dying in stuns. Same problem Windwalker used to have until they overbuffed all their defensives. For Boomkin, Moon and Stars is only going to reduce interrupts and silence by 50%, down from 70. Obviously, with the reduced baseline interrupt duration, this was making interrupts not even last for any amount of time. So this was obviously an observation from the tournament. Augmentation Evoker. This has been a huge problematic spec when it comes to PvP, and what is it now that they're going to be doing with it? Verdant Embrace healing is decreased by 25%. Great, targeting their healing, targeting their absorbs. Molten Blood is now 50% effective in PvP combat, was previously 70%. Panacea healing decreased by 20% in PvP combat. Ebon Might is now 80% effective on allies. Ebon Might now increases the augmentation's damage by 30%, up from 20, and Prescience now grants 6% critical strike chance in PvP, up from 3. The augmentation evoker ability to extend game length has been more effective than we would like, so we're decreasing the effectiveness of some healing spells. Additionally, we're shifting more of the Ebon Might's output into the evoker themselves. Obviously, some classes would scale with Evoker way more than others. I'm thinking like even Marksman Hunter Evoker, for example, was just, you wouldn't help the Marksman too much, but Death Knight or Feral Druid would get huge benefits from it. So making you more effective as a singular spec and reducing your more problematic end of your involvement in PvP, which was your healing and absorptions and extending game duration. So we like that for the direction of augmentation. For Hunter, explosive shot damage is getting buffed by 20% in PvP combat. That's all Hunter specs. So Survival and Marksmanship Hunter are definitely going to see the benefits of this. For Beast Mastery, this one was a tough one to read. Kill Shot deals 10% increased damage in PvP. It was previously decreased by 9. So that's a 19%. Ish, I don't know how the math works on that between the 2% changes. 19% ish buff to kill shot damage on Beast Mastery, which means, actually, no, I don't. Does the set bonus? It probably is a different set bonus, but kill shot obviously was kind of getting pathetic, so Beast Mastery is going to be looking a little more lethal. Marksmanship Hunter, Master Marksman talent effectiveness is increased in PvP from 7 to 15 to 12 to 25, and Rapid Fire is seeing a 15% damage increase. So Hunter love this change here. Hunter's getting a lot of love. My Mage is screaming. I'm going to have to finish my Mage challenge before this comes in. Dampen Harm is now minimum damage reduction is 25%. PvP combat was 30, so lowering the tankiness of all the monk cooldowns a little bit. I think that makes sense, given how many that they have and how powerful they are. For Discipline Priest, Power Word Shield is no longer reduced by 15% PvP combat. Finally, they're re-rolling that change to try and make them Atonement Heal. They need powerful shields and do damage to be even somewhat viable. So this is a little bit of love for Disc Priest. Aegis of Wrath increases Power Word Shield by 20%. Was down from 30, and decays by 2%, was 3% every second in PvP combat. Aegis of Wrath was too impactful in PvP due to its ability to deal with burst damage, so reducing Discipline's reliance on the talent and baking some of its power to Power Word Shield baseline. This should encourage more build diversity and give Discipline a small bump up in PvP. They really don't want you playing the Power Word Shield build. They want you playing some other talents. Okay, so they're offsetting that nerf a little bit here, but the non-powered shield builds are definitely getting better. For Elemental Shaman, they're increasing your ability to finish matches and nerfing some of your kind of pad fake damage, which is really good. That's what you want for a spec like this, because that's the main thing that's holding you back is your lethality. So Lava Burst is seeing a 12% damage increase in PvP combat. Lightning Bolt is seeing a 45% increase from 31. It's roughly 14%, so your Stormkeepers are going to be a bit more threatening. Volcanic Surge now increases the damage of Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning by 35, up from 25, so it's another 10% to Lightning Bolt, and increases the damage of Lava Burst by another 10%. Skybreaker's Fiery Demise now increases the critical strike chance of Flame Shock by 25% PvP combat, down from 50. So this is what I mean by nerfing your pad dot damage. And if people are spam dispelling you, hopefully it means you're going to be a little bit more competitive. Fire Elemental now causes Flame Shock to deal damage 15% faster in PvP combat, down from 33. We're adjusting some of Elemental's damage away from Flame Shock and into instant damage spells to improve the spec's finishing power, which has been lacking this season. So it's definitely going to help you in terms of your offensive capabilities. I'm actually honestly a bit scared of at least Shaman, definitely a spec to check out here. Enhancement Shaman, you're getting some pretty heavy-handed nerfs. Ascendance, immediate damage is reduced by 50% in PvP combat. Wind Strike now deals 25% additional damage in PvP combat, down from was 45, so Ascendance is getting just gutted. I think you're going back to the Lava Latch build. Storm Strike's damage, though, is being increased by 60%, so 15% buff to just every Storm Strike, but I don't know if that's enough to compensate. I feel like you're doing nothing as an enhance, proc Ascendance, immediately kill the target, and I don't know if 15% outside of that immediate kill mode is enough. They're buffing Ice Strike damage also by 45%. In PvP combat, but probably worth checking out the Lava Lash build, I would think, as opposed to the Ascendance proc. Warlock is seeing a lot of changes, and it looks like buffs in this instance. Corruption is now going to deal 25% increased damage PvP, up from 10. That's 15% buff to Corruption. Shadow Bolt is dealing 60% increased PvP combat, up from 30. I don't know if that also means Drain Soul. Does Drain Soul replace Shadow Bolt still? Something I'm not 100% sure actually on the spot right now. Agony is getting a 15% damage increase. Drain Soul is getting a 15% damage increase, and Oblivion is getting a 40% damage increase. Oh my god, I'm making a Warlock. Oh my god, I'm making a Warlock. Oh my god. And now for Demonology, Demon Bolt's damage increased by 25%, Dreadbite increased by 10% PvP combat, and for Destruction, Chaos Bolt is seeing a 15% increase in damage. So maybe we're going to start seeing some big Chaos Bolts coming out from this. For Warrior, the final class will be receiving some changes. Avatar is going to increase damage by 15% PvP, down from 20, so nerfing your cooldown damage. But Bladestorm is going to be doing 20% more damage, and Mortal Strike is going to be doing 15% more damage baseline. And Warbreaker and Colossus Smash increase the damage taken by the target by 20, down from 30. So really targeting your burst. Your finishing power, I guess with Mark of Death, with Execute, still pretty good. But Fury Warriors just doesn't seem to be really strong right now, in my opinion. So seeing any kind of nerfs like here, maybe like a 5% there rather than a 10 might have been better. For Fury, Onslaught damage is getting a 20% increase, and Execute Fury is getting a 15% increase for Fury. So Fury Warrior definitely maybe worth checking out. Warlock and Ellie, like those three specs right here, and Hunter seem to be kind of the main games here, and also Demon Hunter as far as PvP is concerned, moving into the patch, or moving into this hotfix on Tuesday. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. Again, if you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, comments down below your thoughts, what do you think of these changes, and I will see you on the next one.